They're the fourth team ever to win 3 Super Bowls in a 5-year span. You see the others. It's the stuff of legend. Brady's Patriots did it in 2 separate occasions. None of them, of course, were able to three-peat. Patrick Mahomes talked about that last night. We will get to it. So there's so much Mahomes conversation to be had today, and justifiably so. It's the stuff of legend. It is the stuff of history. He now joins the tiniest little list of the greatest players that we've ever seen in any sport. But I felt like you were sort of working your way up to making this point, that if you were to list the next most valuable person for the Chiefs last night, he might have been wearing a headset on their side.
Yeah, it's their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. They got into the playoffs because of their defense. They won the Super Bowl on the backs of their defense. Everyone continues to talk about third down. Their very clear message: you are not going to run the football or be good on first down, San Francisco. And then we were going to get into our third down exotic pressures. First down, it was one of 2 things. They were going to change the line of scrimmage, or they were going to blitz linebackers off of your motions and make sure that nothing popped open. Okay, so here goes this motion. Watch the coordination on the back end, and watch Chenal shoot the gap because he knows the backside guard is pulling. Everybody's got their guy man-to-man, and then that forces Brock Purdy to run away, throw away. Now we're in 2nd and 10. We win as a defense. You want to talk about another first down opportunity. Look at this defense change the line of scrimmage. That ball was snapped at the 25. They're in the backfield. Now watch what happens to Trent Williams. Put on his back. That does not happen often. 2nd and long. Again, that's why this team was so bad on third down. Here's another third down, 15. 3-man rush. They double spy Brock Purdy. Not one guy, but 2. They meet Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. They don't give him space to run his routes. And then Gay, fast enough to track Brock Purdy down as they're playing man coverage. And that's the thing. This group plays man coverage on the back end as good as anybody in the NFL. 3rd and 11 because they won those first downs. Watch, they're going to show Karlaftis and then a backer off the edge. McCaffrey's responsible for the backer. They burst the backer at McCaffrey, and then he pulls back, and Bolton then comes up inside the guard and the tackle's seam. And again, man coverage, nobody open. Just those third downs, but they don't get to them unless they win first down. Kansas City was more physical at the line of scrimmage on first down. They timed their pressures. If you ask, you guys know this, you sit down with defensive coordinator, Spags is one of them, you say, hey, coach, what's the goal of the game? Every single one of them says we have to stop the run. The one you feel truly means it is Spags. And he made it very clear. You weren't going to run
third down. You want to get to 3rd and long. That's what defenses want to get to against anybody, particularly the Shanahan offense. Shanahan's offense are designed to win on 1st and 2nd down. They struggle when you get to 3rd down. You saw what happened yesterday, and I thought we did a lot of Patrick Mahomes stuff, and he deserves credit, but that was not – there were more plays made by that defense yesterday than Patrick Mahomes. And Trent McDuffie comes to mind. They put him in zero coverage a few times.
He was great.
You see him against Debo, breaking up that big pass in that big situation. I think this is the one right here. Yeah, he puts it up right here. This is zero. There's nobody back there. He's behind him.
Sticky.
Walks him down, does my favorite little hook. Don't push off. You don't want to get hooked. Don't push off, Debo. Then he got it, got his hands down, broke it up. But if you go through the course of this game, there it is, Trent again on that blitz. The thing that stands out to me and has always stood out to me to this very, very young defense is they're so smart.
Yes.
And they're so well coached. Like, I watched the game over again this morning. Watched San Francisco make mistakes on defense, cut people loose in coverage. Yeah. These guys never make mistakes.
And they tackle.
Yeah.
Like you don't see this Chiefs defense miss tackles. So they're well coached. They change the line of scrimmage, and they tackle extremely well. When you got that type of combination, there's no wonder why this team was led to the Super Bowl on the backs of their defense.
Look at that play that McDuffie makes. He doesn't get home, but he gets his left hand up to make sure he knocks it down. Yeah. And like for me on that pressure, Karlaftis, the end goes outside. McDuffie, the blitzer, goes inside. Quicker and shorter path to the quarterback.
By the way, all the things that he's showing, 3rd quarter after the interception, right? Like you talk about the Chiefs holding and stopping and why the defense is so important, because that's where games are won and lost, right? That's the details that you want to talk about. San Fran has to capitalize. You can't capitalize when Spags is outmaneuvered.
To be clear on the magnitude of the moment, it's the 3rd quarter. The Chiefs are trailing. Mahomes gets the ball, and he throws his only postseason interception in the last 2 years, his only Super Bowl interception in his 4 Super Bowl now career. There's a moment that San Francisco can take complete control of the game. Here's the interception. I assume he's trying to throw this ball to Travis, and it just floats on him?
Yeah, that was one of the moments when again, being in the building, you feel, because that was a force. Yeah. That was one of those you felt like, because when Patrick climbs up vertically in the pocket, he's at his very best. And when that ball, he floats it, he doesn't rip it to him, that's when you're sitting there going, he's frustrated.
But the point is, that defensive stop there might be the biggest moment in the entire game.
They are Super Bowl champions because of their defense. Now, the quarterback made great plays at the end, and Andy Reid's calls at the end were great. They are Super Bowl champions. The number one reason, because their defense was freaking remarkable.
When you go out here and do something that no team has done in 2 decades and 3 and 5 years, yeah, bro, you are officially a dynasty.
I don't think that's overstating it. I don't think it was a dynasty until they won last night.
That's right.
You got to seal the deal. But the third one in this group, 3 is the magic number. A lot of teams, not suggesting it's easy to do, but there have been many teams that have won 2 in a relatively short period of time. The sport is defined by the ones who win more than 2. The Browns in the 50s, the Packers in the 60s, the Steelers in the 70s, the Niners in the 80s, the Cowboys in the 90s. The Patriots did it twice in the last 20 years, 2 separate iterations, and now this team. There is no question these Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty worthy of being compared to all of them.
Yeah, this is the 20s belong to them, the roaring 20s of the Chiefs, and no one's going to get in front of them anytime soon. This is probably, last year was the weakest team they had in a long time, won a Super Bowl. This team is weaker than that, won a Super Bowl. They moved on from Tyreek Hill in part because they had to choose between him or Chris Jones, and it seems like even though Tyreek Hill is playing well or great in Miami, it seems like they made the right choice because Chris Jones was a difference maker and always is in these big games.
Look, there are so many reasons why they won and so much credit that goes around, but clearly the majority of it is going to go to Patrick Mahomes. It's his 3rd championship. It's his 3rd Super Bowl MVP. He is now tracking towards being one of the great players we've ever seen in any sport in American history. Danny, you have tape.
Put the ball in his hands and go win the football game. Really, the difference in the 2 teams is how one defense handled motion, one didn't. So this is Kansas City in motion a little bit in the second half. So they motion Kelsey over, okay? He's just trying to get a matchup on the linebacker. Linebacker stays inside. Kelsey sets him, runs away. But pay attention to that corner. Mooney Ward's got vision on him because what you're going to see, ball comes out and he squats, okay? The punt, fumble, the muff, they get the ball. The very first play, they get that little similar motion by Kelsey. Pay attention. They're going to switch release. MVS is going to go up the seam from the outside. Kelsey's going to go outside. Both guys are going to follow the back that goes horizontally. You're paying attention as a coaching staff. MVS uncovered. Look at all those guys that are left there. Miscommunication by San Francisco's defense. 1st and 10. Here we go with this motion again. Justin Watson goes over. Look at all these moving parts by San Francisco's defense. Look at all the miscommunication. Guys are left with nothing. Easy check down to Noah Gray, gets 13 yards strictly because the lack of communication by San Francisco's defense. We get motion again, 3rd down. Look at all the moving parts by guys. Switching Logan Ryan and Burks and the safety dropping down. Then they take Watson, they push him vertical. Look at nobody is covering Travis Kelce because of that lack of communication and plan for how they were going to handle pressure. That's the story of the game for me with Kansas City's offense. That and Patrick's checks at the line of scrimmage, but it was brilliant by Kansas City. They motioned to or with Travis Kelce, I think like 87% of the time in the second half. That's the difference of the game. Those really backup players for San Francisco struggled to cover it.
And Mahomes, again, joined Steve Young, the only quarterbacks ever to lead their own team in rushing in a Super Bowl win. So he's got 399 total yards of offense.
I just want to say, because I love the tape, and I love it, and that's all factual, right? But let's be real. When it all mattered, there was one dude on the field that separated himself, and that was Patrick Mahomes.
How?
On 4th down, 4th and 1, calls his own number, go get it. 3rd down, call my own number, go get it. Need a pass be put right one of money, gonna go get it. Like all the design, all the scheme, all the whatever, right? You hear us say all the time, it's players over plays. When it comes to players, that's the player. Like there is no, and Wood said this in the first hour, like there's no comparing him to contemporaries, dude. This dude literally willed his team to win on the final drive of the 4th quarter through overtime, making play after play after play. And it ain't about scheme, it's about how he executes. Because listen, San Fran gave up what, 25? I mean, like San Francisco's defense, they struggle some, yeah, but they played pretty freaking good. Yeah. Like they gave you a fighting chance. The problem is when that dude is who you're going against, it's just tough to stop, man.
You made a good comparison this morning about what era we may be living in right now.
Yeah, we're in the Michael Jordan era right now.
No doubt.
We're like, it's like, all these guys that we constantly talk about on this show, the Josh Allen, the Joe Burrow, the Lamar Jacksons, they're all bumping their head going up against, the greatest of this era right now. And, and the scary thing is, like we talked about, like this is supposed to be the most vulnerable Chiefs team, okay? But they come out here, they go on the road and beat Buffalo and Buffalo. They go on the road and beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and now they finish it off by beating the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. Like, we are literally in the Jordan era now with a quarterback that's only 28 years old.
So we'll let Spags be the Pippen. He's Pippen.
You Pippen. Do you see that stat, though?
Yeah.
In their Super Bowl wins, they're minus 13 in the first 3 quarters, plus 30 in the fourth quarter overtime.
He has. There have been 7 double-digit comebacks in Super Bowl history. He has 3 of them, all by himself. But that last drive, or the last 2, the one in the regulation and then one in the overtime, you're talking about moments, right? We always say Michael Jordan had moments. The great ones not only have great performances, but have moments you'll never forget. Those 2 drives are the stuff of legend for the rest of time.
Yeah, it was incredible. And the part that was most amazing is we all knew. Whole people in their homes, they done left Pat too much time. We all knew. And Steve Wilkes, God bless his heart, did a great job and was calling everything he could call. You can't blame that man. And I think part of the reason why the second half is the way it is to the point that Dan was making. Patrick has more control of the offense. You've already showed everything that you got in the game. We get to the fourth quarter and overtime. I know all the things you got. I'm going to put it in my computer. You bring it up. I'm changing to the play to beat that. And that's part of the reason when you have a quarterback this talented and also added this to his game. So he comes in the league. He's big numbers guy, big plays. He's added this game manager style to his game that's really made him special, where he seems like he's always in control.
And Dom, think about it in this regard. He has changed the style of play. He had 400 yards of offense in the Super Bowl.
Led his team
400 yards
rushing.
of offense in the Super Bowl 20 years ago had never been done type of stuff. Now it's just like ho-hum. You're dead on. Like you have to credit scheme a little bit because it showed up and the motions mattered.
Absolutely.
But I remember the 4th and 1 when they run the little zone read and essentially we were, Chris Fowler's like, what do you call? I'm like, I don't know. And Lewis was like, just put the ball in Patrick's hands.
That's it.
Does it impact the way it goes? If the 49er offensive players are playing with the mindset, a touchdown wins the game, ends the game, and a field goal does not, I guess that could, on some level, impact what they're doing.
It feels minor, but I mean, it would have been really sad if they did score a touchdown and then they said,
they're celebrating.
Put your helmet back on, bro.
They're celebrating. They're all running around, helmets up. That would have looked really bad.
We got more work to do.
What were you about to say?
No, the reason it reflects, in my opinion, it reflects poorly on Kyle Shanahan because we all know that the game of football is so situational, right? Like, and for you to openly admit that we had no idea about the new playoff format. Like this whole thing has been implemented for the 2 seasons.
2 years.
And those guys had no idea.
Yeah, this was the first game that it applied. It is probably worth adding to the conversation that there had only been 1 overtime in Super Bowl history before, and Kyle Shanahan coached in that game. So Kyle Shanahan is aware that the game can go to overtime. He was in one, the one they lost to Brady. The rules were different then. The Patriots got the ball, they went down and scored, and the game was over. That would not have been the case last night. As for the decision to take the ball in the first place, that's a topic last night. You'll hear Shanahan addressing his thinking on that here.
That's just something we talked about with, that none of us have a ton of experience of it, but we went through all the analytics and talked with those guys, and we just thought it'd be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had the chance to go win, and we got that field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to at least to a field goal, and if we did, then we felt it was in our hands after that.
What do we think here?
Yeah, it just seems to me that he's skipping the first step. It's like to get to third, you got to get past first and second. And I would think if what he's essentially saying there, which I agree with, is they want control. And Dan used this terminology too. You want control of the game. And you have more control of the game when you get the ball second. So then they kicked the field goal. And they did get the Chiefs to a 4th down. They would have punted. If the Chiefs got the ball, they would have punted on maybe 4th and 1. They might have gone for it, but they could have punted. Then in that situation, there's no thought process.
Well, and to be clear, even if they would have gone for it in that 4th and 1, when you know every single drive or every single sequence of downs is 4-down territory, and there is no option of that. Right. It will change the way you call your offensive plays anyway.
Oh, 100%. I think it changes the way that Kansas City goes about their drive, knowing that we are a, success or go home situation. San Francisco on their drive, maybe they would have ran the ball on third down and not thrown it or something like that, knowing it had to be 4-down territory, and that's the control aspect of it.
I also like by giving them the ball first, I like that you can end the game no matter what. Because even if the Chiefs go down and score, they're going to kick an extra point. Right. They'll be down 7. You'll have that opportunity to then say, you know what? I don't want to mess with Patrick Mahomes again. I think I have a chance to gain 3 yards right here. Let me do that. So it was
the Chiefs' plan had happened to them.
I'm not sure how it breaks down as far as probability, but it seems like he gave the Chiefs a slight edge right there.
But this is why I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he's one of our great coaches. This was a mistake. The more I am removed from a game, it's a mistake, okay? First of all, Patrick had just gone down the field to end the football game. They didn't stop him. They ran out of time. Okay? Second of all, you have to know who you're going against. If he had me going against me, then sure, kick the field goal, you probably win the game. But you're going against a killer. You're going against the guy that you don't want to give any opportunity to, let alone 4 chances.
It's also easily forgotten because so many things happen in the second half and overtime of that game. But Kyle Shanahan, I think there's a lot to question about the way he did, or more to the point, did not use his timeouts at the end of the first half also. He easily could have manufactured a situation, Dan, and you're doing the game, where he uses his timeouts late in the first half and he gives his quarterback 45 seconds to a minute.
As
Kansas City is going in to score, it was only Reed. He didn't call a timeout till there were 20 seconds left. He could have used his timeouts earlier and had something in the neighborhood of a minute to try and go down and score at the end. That made no sense to me.
Yeah, we talked about that, and I was surprised that they didn't use the timeouts. I was surprised they weren't more aggressive when they actually got the football. Brock had been playing so well, and they were hot. So I think what happened, like when you talk about the decision to take the ball first, and then when you talk about the players that are talking in reference to not knowing the new rules, a couple things that are surprises to me. They're both veterans. The veterans to know that, and then for that football team knowing they're a bona fide Super Bowl contender and to not be prepared for that situation, again, that's a mistake.
This is the youngest defense ever to win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is 28. In theory, he should be entering his prime. I mean, are we looking at something closer to the beginning than the end of this?
It feels like it. We've been talking about how he's added new pieces to his game. And Dan, I used a perfect word earlier, said he's now a savant. When he came in, he was doing things that we hadn't seen before physically, but he didn't fully understand the game, and it didn't matter. But now, when they're losing pieces here and there, they have to pay him. The offense gets a little weaker. He's using parts of his brain and manipulating defenses and becoming more of a coordinator, which we've seen happen to all the great ones, where you see Peyton take control of offense. You see Brady take control of offense. He's doing it already at 28 after he's already won 2 MVPs and 3 Super Bowls.
When he first came into the NFL, the old school saying of the elite quarterbacks makes everybody else around them better, I didn't necessarily agree with, because it was such a spread out game. And I was like, it's really the pieces that elevate the quarterbacks. He's changed my mind on my stance on that saying. He is the second quarterback I feel like I've ever witnessed truly make others around him better. Tom Brady was the first one, and then Patrick has now become that. I don't know how many teams have won the Super Bowl when they led the NFL in drops, they led the NFL in offensive penalties, and they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver.
Unbelievable.
It actually is worth, because we were talking about this a moment ago, is this the most impressive Super Bowl run any team has ever gone on? If you just start counting the ways, they beat Josh Allen on the road, MVP candidate. They beat Lamar Jackson on the road. He was the MVP. They beat San Francisco, who was the #1 seed from the other side, with McCaffrey, who was right up there in the MVP voting and everything else. I'm not sure how much more challenging of a road, of a path to a championship you could have.
Well, think about this. They're 2-3 in December. I know I was here right after Christmas, and we're sitting here, and we're like, hey, are they done? And everybody's like, man, yeah. I mean, they fought the good one. They look tired. They don't look the team. And then all of a sudden, they flip the switch. I said this, like the Eagles turned the switch off. They flipped the switch on, and all of a sudden, everything became different. And it has been miraculous, but it has been an insane. It has been an insane run for them to win this thing.
I know Woody wanted to jump in. We called their game a couple times this year. Every single time, Patrick, Andy Reid, everybody would say, if we just clean up the mistakes, we could beat anybody in the NFL. To your point, Christmas, it's like, yeah, but you guys aren't.
You're right.
The mistakes aren't going away. To their credit, They cleaned those up, and then they got to play to their best for 4 or 5 weeks.
D-Wood, you won championships. You know how hard it is to repeat, to go back to back. I mean, they've done it here, so they've overcome that. Now, again, they will try to become the first team ever to win 3 straight Super Bowls.
Only thing that can derail them is health, honestly. We were talking about this in the meetings. Like, they're at that point now where guys are going to actively try to get to Kansas City.
That's exactly
like when you have a quarterback as great as Patrick Mahomes is, like there'll be free agents that they'll look at comparable deals and be like, no, I'll take a little bit less just to go play with that guy because I won a championship. I think that's the stratosphere that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are.
So I think it's the best Super Bowl run of them, yes. And I think it's the start of them going on a run. If we praise Patrick, they win the Super Bowl because of their defense. That has to be said. They got to keep Chris Jones. That he's a free agent. I think they could win it again if they keep Chris.
Oh, you better. I mean, you don't want to go face him. That dude is a different. Like you said, he stopped 3 touchdowns last night. Last night. In any big, we talk about people stepping up in big games. Go back and look at all the Chiefs' big games. This dude steps up and makes plays.
The play he makes against Josh Allen goes a long way towards winning that game in Buffalo 3 weeks ago. The game he makes last night in the overtime goes a long way towards winning.
Unreal.
The Super Bowl. He had that in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, the first time these teams played each other. He's as valuable as anybody.